Well, this was a very interesting program because it is something which was an experiment and as well something that I was hoping I think I knew which direction to take because I've worked with children before in their schools and I've always taken it upon myself first to break the barrier of fear or doubt or the many feelings they may have. Even those children who came on that day did not know each other. You also have to consider that they want to be free with themselves, but they especially would like to be free with me. And I don't want to seem to be intimidating. I don't want them to think this is a strict conditional process they are going to participate in, but a fun project. But at the same time, even though it is fun, it is something that I'm being asked to create something that will represent a place that I call home. Spokane is a place that I love and adore, and I don't want the final product to be questionable. It has to be something that children have created that they can identify with. It has to be something that we can all look back and say it was a good day. But it is also going to involve a lot of technicality, knowing how to apply hot wax and when to apply the dye, when to know how to mix the colors, who mixes them, what is the composition of the dyes, and so forth. So it was an eye-opener for me to work on a platform with children who are not guided by their class teachers, but really children who just came with their parents for a day they want to spend painting in their favorite library. So my first thing was to introduce myself and to make them feel very welcome and to also know how to relate, how we were going to relate with each other. And I introduced myself and I always say you must use the term Mr. if you're younger than 18. That way we have a rapport of a hierarchy so that I feel I'm more like a parent or an instructor or a teacher. So we begin by introducing them to the fabric and what we use in the process, because batik art is not actually a Kenyan art form. It is an art form that originates in Malaysia, but I have over many years now been practicing and knowing how to create paintings using paint brushes rather than the traditional tools that are used in Malaysia to create batik. I have always had the children or participants know what are the materials we use. So I show them the wax that is easily purchased in their local supermarkets. And I also inform them of the risks involved when the wax becomes too hot. You have to know how to stay safe. And I say before you go into a car, you always fasten your seatbelt. And so the same applies to coming to paint. I tell them when you're using hot wax, it would be good to remove loose fabric or jackets that are going to interfere with the art painting process, and that jackets sometimes can go into the hot wax, and accidents can happen. So we avoid that. And also they should be as comfortable as possible and know that it is not a high risk process. They also began to be loosen up because I like injecting a little bit of humor in the process of my art classes or instructions to students. I try to quickly identify with them by name because, of course, when you learn how to identify with children by name, they have a pride that you have wanted to know them as an individual. I also look for certain characteristics in children. If a child is wearing, say, a black and white top, I would bring in a Maasai proverb and say, at home we have a saying that a zebra is always recognized by its stripes, which means wherever you go, you should try to behave well because somebody is watching. And though I am referring to a proverb, every child there says, I think I want to behave because somebody must be watching. And then I ask them a riddle. In this case, it was a riddle of how many types of trees are there in the world? And somebody would say 1,000, another one 1,000,000, another one, and then of course one of them had his hands in his pockets, and I say, everyone who has their hands in their pockets will be paying me $5 for every hand in the pocket, which is actually a precaution for them to avoid having hands in pockets while handling hot wax. So one boy said, there's one type of tree. I said, you are close, because there are only two types of trees: living trees and dead wood. And dead wood is always thrown in the fire. Living trees have life, and they have certain attributes that we can translate into our day-to-day living. And this involved the roots going deep into the earth to seek water and nourishment that they can drain and use to grow into big, sprawling trees. And this nourishment in life is the education you get in schools, the guidance from your parents, the good manners that you try to adapt from life in reading good books. All the good things that you can tap in life will help you to grow into a strong tree. And when you become a strong tree, you also have a strong trunk, which means you must become an individual who is there and protective of his loved ones. You must stand for them. Do not fall into the entrapment of gossip and bad language and people speaking ill of the people you love. You must defend them. And when you grow into a strong tree, you also have strong branches. And everyone wants to jump on a branch that is strong to swing. And that is, you must be a reliable individual in life. People must rely on you. And when you grow big and strong, you also have many, many leaves. And in this case, leaves are translated into the language you speak, what you say to each other, how you say it. You learn to speak good words that build the spirit, because when you rub the leaves of a tree together, it always smells good. And we continue with that lesson, slowly telling them about the tree, the good virtues that you can take from looking at a strong living tree. You can translate into your day-to-day life. You also have every tree that bears good fruit. Everyone is attracted to fruit that is good and ripe and sweet. But not everybody understands that when you bear good fruit, you'll always have some people speak ill about you. Some people are envious. They will say, you're not the only one who has this good hair. You're not the only one who is very clever. You're not the only one who can sing. I don't think you got this in the right manner. ABC, things that bring you down. But I tell them, expect that in life, that people will be envious. But that should not stop you from bearing the good fruits that you continue to have. Because life is like that. Others will frustrate you in the hope of bringing you down. And all of them participate. I like to create a class where the environment slowly becomes one of participation, because that is what Batik is all about. It's about participating and interacting, and slowly each child wants to excel in knowing and bringing out something beautiful in terms of the painting. And we just continued narrating to them the virtues and the good values that we must uphold in life. And that way, when you tell them that's what we are trying to create in a painting, they will all do their best to make this image come out beautiful, because children are individuals who do not have barriers. We are the ones who create these barriers for them. As they grow, we tell them, don't do this or don't say that. And yet they didn't think of those things in the first place. Yes, you're supposed to train your children to be cautious and not to be suspicious of everyone, but to be cautious, to be wise. So the attitude you have towards others, towards life, towards those around you, that is most important. It is 100% required of you to make you a good individual. After a short while, they were all so free, because that's what I want when I'm with children. And it is very enlightening to see parents who very much wanted to be a part of this project. They wanted to paint with their children, not because they doubted the ability of their children, but they also felt they want to be part of the process of bringing life to this creation of this tree of good virtues. By the time they begin painting, they are so much looking forward to that. You must build in them the desire to begin the process. Because if you just go straight from there and say, okay, pick a brush, start painting, that is too easy. Make them feel the journey. We have a saying that life is a journey up the mountain. So mountains are not just smooth, they are not just steep, it's not a cliff. Mountains have variety of landscape. You can go for a while, the mountain seems flat. Then suddenly you find a terrain that is very steep. Many circumstances will confront you on the journey of your life, just like you will be confronted by a different landscape as you climb up a tree. So I did go through the details of what the tree comprises, but I didn't want them to feel that it was my project. They have to feel that it is their project, and they are working together for something that many years later they can come back and say, I was part of that. And even though they don't have their names on the painting, they have an image of their hand. And I always think it is very personal when an individual has their hand drawn out on a piece, and whatever colors they'll paint within the hand or around the hand has something to do with their lives. And when you give somebody else's hand to another to paint, they will honor it, they will respect it, and they will want to create something good. You begin by telling them about the topic or the subject that we intend to create, and then everybody chips in to say, what can we do to make this tree signify life filled with good virtues? So once I have introduced them to the subject matter, then everyone goes away having their 24 by 24 inch board, and they draw the outline of their hands, and they can then draw different fruits. But each board I had specifically numbered. Each piece was going to be placed in accordance to the number sequence. So we knew that even if you put your hands upside down or whichever way you put them, it's still made for the leaves in the trees or the fruits. And those who are not having fruits in the tree, maybe they had leaves falling down off the tree. But you have to be imaginative to think of the tree in its fullness and of what comprised the tree. And everybody went away feeling they can be a part of a big project. The next stage is to learn how to apply the wax along on top of where you have sketched, so that you set aside that image from now onwards. That image will remain from the beginning of your creating the sketch all the way to the end of the artwork. That will be the outline. That is what will determine and be visually effective from a distance. You will tell the contents of this image, the tree, the leaves, the hands. And now once we have created that outline, the next thing we have to consider is applying the different colors. And I always speak mainly of beginning to understand what is the background as opposed to the foreground. And I have learned from a very young age that it was always good to create my paintings by painting the background and slowly moving towards each and every little image as I go along. And this has worked well for me with batik, because every color that I create on the background, then I wait for it to dry and cover it with the hot wax that isolates that color in that specific place. And that is the sequence that we follow as we create batik. You add a color, let it dry, then you isolate that color in the specific area that you want it to remain. You block it off with the wax, and you continue a sequence of isolation and outlining. I have always attempted in all my workshops, especially with children, to try and make each child feel he or she is the most important in that class. Because when each child feels most important, they will all give their best. And each of them felt very obliged to just create their own image, and the colors they used, they were free to make a choice, because I always have this philosophy that the greatest thing you can give a human being is the freedom to choose. So to impose a color on them is probably not a good way to go. I may ask them to make sure the sky is blue, but once the tree begins to be painted, I tell them, you paint your hand whatever color you want, paint your fruits whatever color you so choose. And when they paint the leaves, I also say, put your leaves in whatever colors you like, because when you give them the choice that they feel free to apply, they are more satisfied. Then of course, because many of them may never have used wax before, I ask them to make a line, and one after the other they will each come, and I guide them on the initial use of hot wax and how to apply the wax on the fabric, and they will know how to use that to their best ability, and they will apply the wax one after the other, one individual after the next. And it is just the technique that I need to show them, which takes less than a minute for them to know how to use the wax, because as long as they know how much pressure not to exert on the brush, how much wax should be on the brush, and which direction to stroke the brush while applying it on the fabric, then they have it. And it is a technique that I have been able to show children for the past 16 years or so in many American schools as I went around the country. And so I have learned where is their greatest weakness, what is their greatest fear, and how can I help them to know how to apply the wax with a brush. Each individual was very enthusiastic in creating the outline of their hands, creating their fruits, creating the roots of the tree. Just different aspects of the whole design came into play once we began working. they also ended up making new friends just because of the experience. And that is what a batik art class, in my opinion, or any art form should enhance, cohesion and love for one another, and teamwork and understanding each other, and just being there for one another in every way. In the way they applied the works, each of them was encouraging each other and cheering on one another as they applied it.
Start waxing over the previous line. Don't start at the place you ended. Start from somewhere before the end of the previous waxing. And if you touch your board now, you will feel the difference between where you have waxed and where you haven't. And you can also see on your lines, you can tell where the wax has gone smooth and where it has not. Please, if you know that your line is broken somewhere, try to fix it, because there'll be no other chance once you start painting. So when you're ready, I think your wax should be hot now. You can proceed. Do you know what this is?
It's a watermelon slice.
You didn't tell her. No, it's a watermelon. I can see it. It looks. Oh, okay.
There could be a pizza treat.
Okay, yeah, I like it. I like it. Sorry. So my friend, you owe me $10, and if we add $10 with the one I got from that gentleman and somebody else,
We all get to go to dinner.
yeah, exactly. That can be really good for here.
For
not-
here,
Yeah. Yes, my friend.
I owe you like $10. You like that for here too.
Oh, I think I think for here would be nice.
Alright,
Yeah.
I'll try to.
So applying the wax is one process, and then applying the dye is another. The dyes that we use, that I've used over the years, are cold water Procyon dyes that are very much available in any art store, and they are there for anybody to choose whatever colors. They have a wide range of colors. But I also try to invoke some thinking in the children, some creative thinking on primary and secondary colors, which I'm very sure they have learned in school. And so some of the colors, I tell them we can have a determined color already from the manufacturer, but some of the colors they can also create, like yellow and blue. They can have a certain tone of green. And also the use of salt as an added way to ensure that the dyes become fixed onto the fabric, that water is cold and fast initially mixed just with ordinary table salt before you apply the cold water powder dye. I also help them to understand how fine the powder is, and the fact that they should not be using any fan blowing in the room while they're using the dye, because the dyes are very easily soluble in fluids, and their eyes have fluids. Their hands may be having food that they've been touching, which then becomes possible for the dyes to just mix in naturally. Even without mixing, I show them how the dyes quickly flow to the bottom of the jar, just showing them how soluble these dyes are. We don't want to experiment on what are the consequences if you have dye in your eyes or in your food, but the label says they are non-toxic, but who wants to experiment on that? So we better play safe than be sorry. And soon they each learn how to mix the dyes. They learn how to appreciate that the more dye you add, the more dense it can be, the more darker the color. And of course, there's always a preference by different individuals as to what colors they like while we are mixing the dyes. And those are just some of the caution that we apply to tell them, yes, it is good to eat, but everything has its time. And we must ensure that where we have applied wax and we do not want one color to run into the other, we have to ensure that the wax has been applied and we are satisfied that once we begin the painting process, we don't have a problem with where the dye will flow into. And I show them how to apply the dye, that you have to rub it onto the fabric, as opposed to how you just paint on canvas using oil paint or watercolor paper. There is a difference in applying dye to fabric. You have to rub it on, because the fabric is slightly more difficult in permeability compared to other materials that you may use to paint. So once they get this, they also then again get excited. Everyone wants to begin painting right away. And of course, you have to guide them even as they begin. You just give them the confidence that they can actually do a good job. And that was the beginning of their painting process. Once we have applied the wax, now the next stage is to paint it. And if we can do this in an orderly manner, then in the end, I'm very sure we would get a good image. And this went on from the time they started painting. We continued enjoying their participation, and they enjoyed their time, and were only able to do the background at this particular meeting, just waxing and painting the background so that we could allow it to dry, and they would come the next time and continue with the painting of the hands and the fruits.
Okay, my friends, now it is time to be busy. Please come closer so I can see your smiles properly. If you have a loose jacket, that jacket around your waist, put it on the seat somewhere. Don't worry where you stand. There's no section that you must have right now. We just want to observe what is the image we have here. So those of you who have come today, welcome. My name is Sironka, but because I'm very sure, who is over 18 here? Not you big people. All of you here, please call me Mr. Sironka, because I feel very honored when you do that. And I will tell you, there are times when we will joke, there are times when we will play around, but there are times when we have to focus. And we have to focus and be serious on what we are doing, because we want to have fun, but we must complete this project today, because it is something that we must have hanging in the library in the next 2 or 3 weeks, 2 or 3 months. And it must be something that they will say, oh, these people did a good job. So whatever we are going to do, we are going to work together. It is a very good idea to have teamwork. But sometimes, everybody sometimes is given a portion of their own to create. But in the final presentation we have is a tree, because we spoke of a tree last week, that there are only 2 types of trees. living trees and dead wood. And I expounded on that Maasai proverb. I come from Kenya. Kenya is a country in East Africa, and we have very many tribes that speak a different language, but we all speak one language called Kiswahili. But I try to explain to people about my culture and what I've learned that helps us to grow, loving and respecting one another. And there is a riddle about the tree. How many types of trees are there? They say 10, 100, 2. There are only 2 types, living trees and dead wood. And the living tree has certain virtues that we can take from the example of a tree. It has roots that go deep into the ground to tap nourishment. So as a growing up child, a growing up girl or boy, you'll tap from the wisdom of your parents. You listen to your teachers. You listen to your elders. You learn the good things that you're supposed to grow up with. Then you grow into a strong tree that has a strong trunk. What does that represent? It represents being steadfast, that you stand in defense of the people you love. You don't listen to gossip, because gossip sways you around from loving those people that you love. You start to think twice about them because you've had somebody telling you something that may not be true, but you know them better. So you must stand and stand against all the things that are spoken ill about them and say, no, I know my mom, I know my brother, I know my sister, I know my friend. Don't say those bad things about them. Then a tree that has strong branches, we all like to jump on a branch, maybe sometimes put a swing on a branch that we know is strong and reliable. You must be a reliable individual. People must depend on you. You must not be always one day you're good, next day you're bad, one day you're reliable, next day you're telling lies, one day you're one name, the next day you're a different name. But we can kid around, but sometimes we must remain true to ourselves and true to those people around us. Then you become like a living tree that has many leaves. And when you rub any leaves together and you smell, they always smell good. It's refreshing. You must have words that you speak to people that become refreshing in their hearts. They feel revived. If somebody was feeling so low and depressed, you say good things. You say things that make them rise up again and say, you know, I still have hope. I still have confidence that I can pass that test. I still have confidence that with practice I can score a goal. You know, say nice things to people. When somebody is sick, you call them and say, I think you sound better than yesterday. They become better. Then you all have a tree that bears good fruit. You can see in our tree we have fruits. I want you all now to look for a tree. Somewhere in your tree you'll find a fruit. Paint a color. Paint a yellow fruit, maybe a red one, because the fruits of life are being confident, speaking truth, being honest, all the good virtues that you want. Say something nice to somebody in the morning, like, good morning, I love you, it's so good you're my dad, it's so good you're my mom. Say, look at your sister and say, hey, you're taller than me. Yeah, that's because you're older than me. I love you for that. Okay? But don't eat your sister's lunch and say, hey, I'm bigger than you, you know. No, be nice. So all the fruits that you can think of in life are all those good things that you can share about each other to one another. And last but not least, because a tree has many leaves that we've just been putting down, sometimes the sun can shine and be very hot. Everyone wants to come and sit under the shade because it's cooler. Sometimes life out there is not always going to be smiling at you. Life can be difficult. Oh, but don't forget, even as you bear good fruits, there are some people who become envious. There are people who become jealous. They tell you, that's not your nice t-shirt. I had a t-shirt like yours. Oh, that's not your nice hair. My mom has better hair. My dad has better hair. Maybe the dad actually looks like me, no hair on the head. So don't be worried about people who are envious about the good things you have. Don't stop being good because somebody said something nasty. Just continue bearing good fruits. And like the shade of a very beautiful tree, let people sometimes come to you for comfort. Because when they are challenged by life out there, they want to come and sit under the shade. They want to come and sit with, what's your name again? Courtney, and say, Courtney, tell me a story because I think I like your stories. They say, what's your name? Kylie, you know, your smile makes me just feel good. Let me just sit next to you. And Komi, I saw you eating a nice hamburger. Maybe you can share a hamburger with me, you know. Something nice. You say, no, I ate, I finished it, but I can get you another one. Yes. So you say nice things. That's a shade of a good tree. So now we have all that here. You can see from here that we have an image somehow appearing of a tree. But today, I will put everybody on in any side. Don't worry which piece you have. I will guide you on what colors to apply. And then we'll see the magic of how we can overlap colors with others to create a beautiful tree. We have water under the tree. We have hands. The hands you have represent all children of the world. You must learn to accept one another. Don't say, oh, because you're taller than me, I don't like you. Oh, because your hands have like paint, don't touch me. Oh, my mom said I need nice nail polish, yours don't have, don't shake hands with me. No. We must accept one another. Are we together? Yeah. Anybody have a question? So when we speak, I want all of you to repeat after me. No two people should ever speak at the same time.
Should never speak at the same time.
Because if they speak at the same time, they will never understand each other.
They will never understand each other.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
And because we are going to use hot wax to paint, we are using dye, fabric dye that we mix in water. I will show you a little bit later how we mix dye to get different colors. You get nice colors like this, maybe orange, I don't know, maybe yellow. And most of the time, we use hot wax. We heat the wax to 200 degrees. So when it is not hot, it looks like this. When it is very hot, it becomes fluid. So I will guide you. Don't worry about, you're not going to get burnt or anything. But rule number 1, don't beat my pots. They like me. Okay? My pots like me, and I don't want them telling me back in my studio, you took us to kids who beat us up the whole day. Okay? Don't beat on the pot. When you take wax, you take a little bit, you flip it off, and you apply it. You take a little wax, flip it off, and you apply it. You try to go maybe 2 inches. You go, you need some water, please? Yeah, feel free. You go to your fabric where there is a pencil mark. You go a little bit. But today we are going to cover a lot of the paint with the wax. Okay? So don't beat my pots. And last but not least, I like making money. Everybody likes money. If you put your hands in your pockets, every hand is $5 for me. So I hope you have a lot of pocket money at home, except you. Yes?
Should I be the accountant again?
No, because you didn't get any money last time.
Oh.
This time I have a new accountant. Courtney, you will be the guy who will tell her who has hands in their pockets. Because if you have hands in your pockets, it is very risky to push somebody and they get hurt in the wax. Yes, Courtney?
Could Sophia do it?
Okay, Sophia can do it. Why you don't like to get money for me?
No, it's her birthday party.
Happy birthday, Sophia. We can use all that money and buy as much popcorn as we can, okay? So, don't put hands in the pockets because it is risky when you have hot wax heating up. Don't be worried. We are all going to have, how many are you now? Let's make one line. Let's just make one line so that I can set you apart. What's your name?
Aaron.
Aaron, come this side. All the way to the end. And just keep coming. Keep coming. Yes, my friend, come. Come, man. Come. So I want you, and you're the last one to come this side. Everyone else, stand on this side. And then I want, who are the new people? New people, very good. Can you stand on one corner here? Okay, and you look new, come here. And you are all new? Okay, new people, that table. All the not so new people on this side. So my friends, the parents and Eileen and everybody, let's spread their boards this way. So, I think we are going to do this. You are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I only need 4 here. So choose which 4 of you can stay here. Okay, before you go, Courtney, put your hand on the board, in the middle. Put your hand in the middle. Spread the fingers wide. Draw your hand around. Good. And then Leah, next board. And Mariah, come. You can put it on any of the boards. You can put the same with the Courtney. Yeah. Put your hand somewhere here. Yeah. Inside that square. Draw your hand. And the same with you. Put your hands. I just want your hands there, and then 2 or 3 of you will go back there. Good. Good. No. Remember, no 2 people. Yes, good. And then good. This one, excuse me. Do you have a specific number where you are last time? Go to your number. Go to your number. Your sleeves are too long. Fold them. Good.
Or you might just want to take your jacket.
Okay, good. And where were you? Number? 6. Good. Okay. Now, we are not using wax at this time. We are painting. Who is here? And good, my friends. So all of you, I want you to go and you will see the colors there. Pick a yellow one or a blue one. Yes, good. Yellow one or blue. Yellow one or blue, and come back with it.
So they're going to go that way?
Yes. Go pick a yellow one or blue bottle, and then we need to give them brushes.
4 extras, which
Yeah.
we can have grown-ups do them too.
Yeah, I think I'll flash this in the water first. Some of them still have. Very quickly. Okay, everybody who has a bottle must have a brush. Okay, remove the cap from your bottle. Leave the cups over there on the table. Leave the top of your bottles on the table, because I want always one hand to be holding the bottle, one hand to be holding a brush. One hand to be holding a bottle, one hand on the brush.
There isn't any more blue or yellow.
So take orange or red. How's that? Who is this one?
Mine.
Good. Hold on. Paint everything other than the hands and the brush. Don't paint the leaves. Don't paint the hand. Paint anything else with the color that you have.
Okay.
So, for example, you have all this. Don't paint the fruits. Don't paint the hands. Paint everything else in yellow. You have blue. Paint everything else blue apart from the hands and the fruits. Excellent. So remember how we mix the paint? We always put some salt. You remember? And then what?
And then you mix it together.
Then we add, and we add some dye. And then you mix it, man. So go paint everything.
Everything blue.
Everything other than the fruits and the hands. Yes. Just paint anything else like here. This one is good, we leave it that way, okay, because it's like sunshine. And this is good because it's like part of the tree. Yes, and we'll come and make it green later. Do you want to continue here maybe with yellow? Yeah, I think you're doing a good job. You know, if you add the yellow up all the way to here, then you start with the blue, anything else around here. Yes, so you can finish with the yellow. That was really good. Keep going. Hey, my friend, you are #1 artist today, okay? You are #1.5. How's that? Yes?
I'm one of them. Okay, I'll take it.
You got a half more than him. Yeah. Very good. Okay, my friends, now we are changing your color. Anywhere that you want to change to blue, paint it blue. Don't worry about the orange, anything else other than the leaves and the hands, okay? Yes, paint it blue. Yes, my friend. Oh, just mix it, man. I think if you mix it, let's see if you're smiling. Yeah, then it will mix well if you smile, yes?
Specific process for painting for the
Yeah. Yes, my friends.
We got pink here. Do you want us to put the blue on to make it purple?
Yeah, exactly. Genius. Good. Blue. Now, if you have any leaves, please paint them blue. Yeah, if you have any leaves, only leaves, paint them blue. Don't paint anything else blue. I don't mind if you put multiple colors, but we have to really see it from a distance. Yes? Yeah. Are you bored of the color you got already? You know what you can do actually? Here's a good idea. You have a good idea. When you finish with one color, give the next person your color. Then just keep rotating the colors. How's that? So you give purple to her, you give red to her, you give green, like that, and keep going around. Yeah. Listen to me, please. Excuse me. We need you to step back, wash your hands, take 10 minutes break. Thank you. Please wash your hands. It's very important. So what we are doing in batik art is a process known as outlining and isolation. So we have outlined a tree, we have outlined hands. That means the line that you have drawn around where you had created with a pencil, you went over it with hot wax, creating an outline. Then within the areas that you have outlined with the wax, you painted inside, isolating different places with different colors to bring out a theme or an image that you wanted to create. And in this case, it is the image of a tree. Right now, I think I can see the tree. I hope you can. But you're looking at it from a different perspective. You're looking at it from up, looking at it down. But we also are going to expect it to be raised and up against a wall. Each of these pieces is going to be joined by another specialist who does quilts. And what she's going to do is she's going to attach every portion of this tree that each box has created. Each of them is going to be joined together at some point. Maybe she will stitch some of the places inside, I don't know. But I believe that it is going to be something good. This is not the last stage. The next stage is to allow for this painting to dry completely. And then we paint over it all with wax. But in the event that we wanted to add, for example, more leaves, if we have an area that is blue, we will paint around, we might draw a leaf, paint around it with wax, and then go over the blue with yellow. Then we have an extra leaf. Are we together? Yes. But if we are happy with what we have so far, all we are going to do now is paint over the whole of this fabric, all these pieces, including this very beautiful work. We are going to come here as well in a moment. Everything is going to be waxed. When the wax cools down, after a day, because I will let all this dye completely dry within the fabric before I wax it. Once I have waxed it, I go over each piece, placing paper towel. The white rolls of paper towel that I usually have, like those, you put a roll on it and you iron. Those of you who don't know how to iron, maybe you've seen your mom ironing, maybe your dad, you know, you iron over it and the wax is absorbed into the paper towel. Each layer of wax is absorbed into the paper towel and eventually you have a radiant fabric that looks very colorful. Right now, when you look at this color, it has a matte finish. Matte finish means it's not shining. But when we go over it with the wax and we remove the wax, the colors become brilliantly bright and we'll have a very good image. I have personally enjoyed working with all of you. I hope that you have enjoyed what you have experienced. And hopefully some other time we might meet again and create something else. But I think the theme of our, the subject that we have created has something that you can go home with. You must not just take a lesson, learn something and leave it there. Try to take the virtues that you have always, some of you maybe are already experiencing, trying to, now come to this side, trying to be honest. That is a good virtue. Try to be honest because as you grow up, people will have more reliance on you because of your honesty. Try to have empathy when somebody is having trials and tribulations or difficulties. Don't just say, oh, I'm sorry, and then continue on your conversation about something else. To have empathy is to feel with them whatever trials they go through. Try to absorb some of those trials with them. And of course, all of you know love. But many times, we are so used to telling somebody, oh, I love you. Oh, I love you, here is a chocolate. But sometimes love is shown by you stopping to do something for yourself and you do for someone else. So you can sacrifice. Probably you say, today I'm not going to go and play soccer. I will come and sit with you because you have a headache. I will sit and spend time with you. That is sacrifice. You let go of what you love for the sake of those that you love. What about truth? You know, to tell people the truth, to give people hope that tomorrow will be better. All these virtues are just part of that tree that we have created. And the same with this piece. These are going to be waxed over. Bless you. They're going to be waxed over. The wax will be removed. I will cut these pieces so that they are 4 square pieces. These ones are not going to be sewn together. They're going to be separate so that whoever sees that tree and reads the plaque that maybe explains the meaning behind the whole design can now connect these with those. So those of you who came today to do this wonderful work, you have made a very good impact. I didn't even think that, you know, combining colors would come out so nice like this. Now I understand why the rainbow is very beautiful, why people love melons. Don't you think this is very clever? Yes? I think this is a very genius way. And this hand, look at this hand. Multicolored. And that one, blending colors together is also a good way. And even paying me $10 at this stage is not a bad idea. But do you have any questions so far? Anybody?
No.
Yes? Yeah, I have a surprise for you now. You like surprises? Yeah, my surprise is, why don't you have questions? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I have something for you because do you remember where I come from?
Kenya.
Where is Kenya? Which part of Africa? Which part of East? Okay. Usually when we go and we meet, when we make new friends, we have a saying. We believe that we do not ever buy friendship. Okay. We can never buy friendship. But you can give tokens of friendship to say, remember me wherever you are, because we've become friends now. So I'm going to give you something from Kenya. I'm not going to choose what I'm giving, I'm just giving you, and then I'll explain to you what I gave you. Are we together?
Yes.
Do you speak English?
Yes.
Okay.
I can't tell you that.
What?
But you just said that in English.
I beg your pardon?
Okay.
Okay. So these come from Kenya, and I'm just going to start from here. You are, you know, this one is actually very good for you because you are actually very tall. You know that one is a giraffe. And then this one is, oh, nice crocodile or alligator or lizard. I'll tell you about that. And that is, oh, you are another tall, what do you call yourself? Giraffe. And who's that? Remember, the colors are still smile sensitive.
What?
Okay, my friend, there you go. I'm not even looking, so I'm just giving you what comes out first, okay? Are we together? That's for you. That's from Kenya. Kenya is in?
Africa.
Which part of Africa? And then when I've given you yours, I will ask you, what do you have? And then when you tell me what you have, I will tell you why yours came that way, because some things like, oops, don't pick it, don't pick it. Oh, golly gosh. Even parents get something. Even parents who like salads. Who doesn't have anything? Hey, Daniela, come. I don't know that. Hey, you.
Well, thank you. Pretty.
Hey, my friend.
Yes, sir.
You don't just get away that way, man.
Thank you.
See, I'm not even looking.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, my friend. Now I want to ask you what you have. Then I'll tell you what yours means. Oh, thank you. Okay, you have a giraffe. You know the giraffe is the tallest animal? So we say, be above the rest, and you will see ahead. So that means you must study very hard, because when you study, you'll always be very easy to tell things in advance. Like, what does A plus B mean? Or I say C, you say no. Is equal to algebra. I say, what is algebra? He said, never mind. And you? You are just going to swim through life, no difficulty at all. You see, you just do things and say, oh, this is nice. I got an A in math. How's that for size? And everybody will say, oh, you got a giraffe? You say, oh, you thought I was going to be this short all my life? Check me, look at me now. Yeah. Yeah, you see the star? That means your trajectory. When you are climbing, life is like a mountain. Yours is so high up, like you're going to be so up like the stars. Nobody can catch up with you because you're always so fast. Except don't overspeed when you're driving, because the police will catch up with you. And then you'll tell them, I gave you something that said you have to reach for the stars, and then you have to look for me with the cops? No way, man. Giraffe means?
That I'm above everything else.
No, you have to be above the rest so you can see ahead. Yes? That means even in your behavior, you have to try to behave very nicely, as good and better than the rest, so that they can see from you that that is a good virtue. Yes? And the same with you. And you? Oh, fish. Do you know that when you eat a lot of fish, you become so clever? Like you can be like a detective or something. I don't know. Like you can be a lawyer. You can be so clever, I have to call you to ask you, what is the meaning of encyclopedia? And you say, read a dictionary. I say, what is that? You see? And you? Oh, you have the colors of a zebra. We have a saying. When we look at a very big crowd of antelopes and buffaloes when they are together, we will always spot a zebra. Yes? A zebra is always recognized by its stripes. That means wherever you are, you always have to behave, because somebody's watching and they say, whose child is that? Okay? They never say, what's her name? They say, whose child is that? So if you're behaving nicely, your dad and mom will say, oh yeah, that's my daughter. But if they say, who's that mischievous girl? They say, we don't know her, man. So you must always behave your best. Even when you think nobody's looking, be your best. What are you going to do in life? Swim through life. Even when you get hardship, just wait a few moments. It will just be in the past. Okay? Just keep swimming through life. The same with you. Yes? Life is sometimes a journey up a mountain. You're just going to swim through and just say, somebody's been through this before, because everything in life has a name, yes? Even the word hardship, it has come because it means a difficult time. But it's just a word that says hardship will go, and I'm just going to swim through life. Are we together?
Yes.
Anybody else have something different? Oh, stars. And zebras. Oh, your mom is like you. She has to really behave like when she needs like salad in her food, she can go back. And they say, check that dude, he wants a salad. Anybody else has something different? What do you have? Yes? Good. So these are just small tokens of saying, now you're friends, we are friends for life, okay? If you meet me on the street, just say hi, okay? I'm not going to say like, buy me chocolate or something. Okay? So that is the lesson for today. I think now you have like half an hour. You need to all stand somewhere. We will hold a piece of what you painted. And maybe we don't have to hold everything. Do we? Unfortunately, you can't take it home. So we are going to hold these ones, not these ones. because these are the ones that summarize all that we have done. Yes?
Wonderful.
Yeah.
We'll get the short
But
ones
thank
up
you very much because I like your good behavior and I've had fun. I hope you have had fun. And please give Eileen a very big clap because she made this happen, and Danielle, and these are very good people. And they have fish and swimming through life and swimming through. I am the only one who has just a map of Africa. How's that? That means you can always come to my home. If you go to Africa and they say, hey, where are you going? You say, I got a home to go to. Okay? You can go to my home.
It's like I'm going home.
Yeah. Are we together?
Yes.
So we need to hold the paintings and have a nice photograph. Thank you.
You guys do.
So you said to see what's ahead. Strange
Yeah.
thing is, a few times when I was younger,
Yeah.
I actually saw
Maybe we should.
that
Oh.
actually happened.
That's clever, man. So we would like them to sit here. And so these can come. You can stand here like that. Behind, yeah. And then another two here. Yeah.
Everyone come on up right here. You guys are tall.
Over
Come on
here.
back and stand behind these guys.
Like
What
so.
was your name again, hon? Yeah. Courtney.
Courtney,
Very good.
yeah, over here.
No, not sit, sorry.
Yeah, good. Hey, don't forget the paints are smile sensitive.
You guys are taller
Thank
than me,
you.
which is really sad.
Yeah, no, you have to smile.
Okay, I was like, what's the meaning?
Okay,
Put the grown-ups in the back. You know,
big people.
you too, Sironka.
Kimberly, you want to come stand with your kids?
Eileen, you too.
Would you two mind switching?
Yeah. You can stand here. Hey, come here.
I want you next to me.
Here. Good. Yay.